In this video, I'll demonstrate how to create a form letter that merges information from a database using Crystal Reports for Visual Studio.net. Okay, to get started with this example, I created a simple application, Windows Forms application, VB.net, called CR Form Letter 2. And one of the first things I'll do is go ahead and set up my Crystal Report viewer on the form. I'll go to Properties and select the docking as fill. And we'll have to come back and select the report source once we finish the report. But I didn't want to forget this step. So the first thing I'm going to do in our project is go ahead and add new item. And I'll go down about 2/3 the way to I find Crystal Report. I'll leave the default name and I'll select Open. We have our Crystal Report gallery, so I'm going to select Form Letter and OK. And if you recall from some of the previous videos, we're going to use this extreme sample database that a lot of the examples in Crystal Reports uses. So we'll go ahead and use it because it has some good relational data, although it be a little bit old. And select Finish. So now we have the Form Letter Report Expert that appears. And we're going to go to the table and select Customer. We're going to make two passes at this form letter. The first one will be fairly simple. The next one will be a little more advanced. So for this one, we'll just select one table. And we'll go Next. It'll go to the fields. Let's select the name, first name, last name, title, position, sales, which will be important. And then all the addressing information. And I think that should pretty much do it. So let's go on to the next one. We're not going to use any groups or totaling or select, so let's click the next buttons until we get to the Form Letter tab. Now in the Form Letter tab, we want to select details from the section that we want to use. Then notice some of the other buttons here. What we'll do is we'll select a field, and then we'll click Add to Text, and that will insert that field of information in the section that we've selected from the drop-down section list box. So let's go ahead and add our first field to our report. We're going to select the title of a person's name. Now just to make sure, sometimes we confuse title and position, so we can select this Browse Data button, which will pop up a little window that'll show us some of the fields that are in the database currently. So Dr., Miss, Mr., exactly what we want. So let's click Contact Title and select Add to Text, and notice that when we do that, the contact title appears here in this section. So let's go ahead and make a space using the space bar, and then select first name. We'll put our cursor next to first name and select the space bar and click last name. Now before we go on to the next line, let's go ahead and just do an Enter key, so return key to get back to the next line. Notice that when I select these fields, it selects the entire field of information. Now, it's basically just the field name with a curly brace. So if I were to put, for example, contact title myself with a curly brace, do you think this would work? Well, I would think it would, but however, it treats these differently. Notice that whenever you select that information that you just typed in, it does not treat it like a real field like it does here where I clicked once and it selects the entire field. So there's some type of encoding that they put on these, so you can't type them in. If you do type this in, it will come up with the text contact title instead of the actual Mr., Miss, or whatever it is from the database. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to change around your reports a little bit. You have to use this Add to Text in order to get that feature within your form letter. So let's go ahead and add in the name of the company, or I'm sorry, first of all we'll select the position, and then the name of the company, and then some of the addressing information. I remember from, I don't know, maybe it was 4th or 5th grade where they teach you how to address a letter. I think you're supposed to do it something like this, or maybe it was typing class when I was a kid. Put the postal code in there. And then you're supposed to put so many lines, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So notice that I was able to use the Enter key, the space bar, and now I'm going to type in the word Dear, space, and again we'll use title, and then last name. I'll put a comma here. as the billing contact for, and then we'll insert the company name. We would like to inform you that your account balance is overdue in the amount of, and then we'll just assume that they never paid for last year's sales. So let's go ahead and add that in this fictitious example. Period. Please pay that amount now, or we'll have no choice but to ask you nicely again. Sincerely, okay. So now that we've created the text of our letter, let's go ahead and click the Finish button. And when we do, notice that our designer appears. And there's, I think, a little bug that they have with this, because what happens is sometimes you get an extra field of information that will be plopped on top. It's usually if you select the detail section to do all your work in, it'll put all of the fields that you selected single file in that detail section, so you need to remove any ones that it puts in there automatically. So let's scroll, see, like if here's the first name, let's go ahead and get rid of that. We didn't put any of those in manually. So now that we've removed those, we can see that our detail section looks pretty much the way that we typed it in. So let's go ahead and save this. Let's go to our form designer and not forget to go to our components and select report document, drag and drop that. It's going to want to know what typed report that we want to use in our viewer. We'll select the one that we created. Go to our properties now for our viewer control, and under report source select the report document that we just dragged and dropped on there. So now this should work. Let's go ahead and save it and select play, or run rather. Okay, so here we go. Let's open the viewer up a little bit more so you can see this. And notice that it has the first company's name, Mr. Chris Christensen, sales manager, City Cyclists, and the address. Very nicely done. And pretty much has everything in there. Let's see if it has the account. Yeah, $20,000 overdue. Wow. And so notice what happens though now. Right after our closing statement, it goes right into the next record. So we need to correct that. Let's go ahead and select this, close, go back to our report. I'm going to right click this section and select format. I'm sorry. Let's select an empty area like here and format section. It brings up the section expert. And what we'll do here is select details as our section, and then click new page after and select OK, save, and let's run it again. So in this report we only use the detail section. So let's see if it worked this time. So we get to the end of our letter and there's nothing else on that page. So this is perfect. We can print them all out. There are probably about 50 or so of these letters. And so we can make a little application that allows our billing department to click one button and it prints out for that day all of the collection letters or whatever you need within your particular application. Let's make this a little more advanced example. So let's go ahead and close down that designer and we'll come back to our form. And let's go ahead and insert another Crystal report. We'll leave the name as 2. And this time what we want to do is show a list of all of the purchases that were made, just so they know the PO numbers and things of that nature. We'll make it pretty simple this time. I'm not going to put all the detail in that we did on the last report. But what we want to display here is, or demonstrate, is how you get a more detailed view of the information. So let's go ahead and click OK. We're We're going to select our database sample. This time we're going to select the customer table and the orders table. Select next. Link looks good. We're only going to select a couple fields. Let's go ahead and select the customer name this time, and then scroll down to the order section and select PO and the order amount. And let's put the order amount above the PO, and I'll show you why in just a moment. From a grouping perspective, we want to group by customer name. And from a total tab perspective, we want to make sure that summarize fields, order amount, summary type, sum. Very good. We're not going to use the select feature on this report, so we'll go straight to the form letter. This time we need to make a little more, be a little more discerning in what we select. What we'll do in our group header is put in, for example, Dear, and then the customer name. Our records indicate that your account is overdue. Please see the detailed list of purchases below and remit the total amount due. Okay, and then that is all we're going to do. We're not going to select the detail section. If you recall from the previous report that we created, it automatically put the fields that we selected in the detail section for us. So we're going to use that to our advantage this time. Go ahead and select Finish. And let's take a look at what it generated for us. Let's move some things out of the way here. Okay, so in the group header, it's going to put Dear customer name, our records indicate. Great. Now notice that it put the customer name, the order amount, and the PO. I know from doing this example before that the PO is very long, so if you were to remember how I switched order amount and PO around, if we had done that, order amount would have been off to the right side so far that we would have had to re-drag and drop it onto the page. So that's kind of a frustration that I've had, and I wanted to avoid it. What we're going to do is remove the customer name from the detail section and instead pull the PO section over here, and we'll make it smaller, and we'll move the order amount here. Then we'll put the order amount subtotal right here, and we'll get rid of the report footer altogether. I'm going to insert a text object and put pay this amount. And then finally in this report footer section, I'm going to insert another text object, and we'll give ourselves a little space here. We'll move this down a little bit, and I'll say thank you. Alright, and we may have to make that bigger so it all shows up. And we could probably spend a lot more time formatting this, but let's go ahead and do this for now. And I'm sorry, we need to put this section not in the report footer, but in the page footer. Very important difference. In fact, I made yet another mistake. Let's go ahead and pull this down and put this into the group footer. And we'll just close these out. Sorry about that. Okay, so now let's go ahead and save this. We're going to go back to our Solution Explorer, and we'll open up our form. Here we're going to make sure that it's pointing to the right report. Yes, because we've added another report, we need to make this change. So what we'll do is actually go over here to our toolbox, which is the easiest way to do this, and go to Components, drag and drop another report document onto our form. This time select Crystal Report 2, which is our second report. Now select our viewer, go down to the bottom, select our report source. Great, that should work. Let's go ahead and run it and see what changes we need to make. So you notice the iterative process. You do a little bit, you see if it worked, and then you do a little bit more. Alright, so a lot of these just have one transaction and no PO number. This one for the Alley Cat cycles seemed to have several with PO numbers associated with them and several orders. But notice again we have this problem where they're actually appearing on the same physical page of paper that would be printed out. We don't want that, so we need to make one more adjustment to our report. And let's right click our group footer and click Format Section, select Group Footer, and select the new page after and see if that helps us out. Let's go ahead and hit Save and run. And it looks like we have just 7 bytes for 7 brothers. On this page, you'll notice that we have our navigation bar over here. Let's select the Alley Cat cycles. Dear Alley Cat cycles, our records indicate that your account is overdue. Shows all the orders and pay this amount. And we could make it look fancier, but that will work. We could just go and print out all the form letters. And this is really neat because just imagine how long it would take you to develop something like this just using the print object within Visual Basic or C#. It would take quite a while to format it like this. So in just a few moments I was able to create 2 different types of form letters, and I could tweak them, maybe spend another 15 minutes, and then I'm done for the rest of the day. Well, at any rate, hope you appreciate this video on how to create form letters. Hopefully it's useful within your organization. Thank you.